Hello everyone, welcome to the next chapter of the stormy love story between James and Diep, where every turning point is filled with emotion, sacrifice, and heart-wrenching choices. In the previous episode, after a long battle with illness, Diep gradually recovered and was allowed to return home. That was also when Tung, the man who had always loved her in silence, decided not to hide his feelings any longer. He went to see Diep, and this time, he declared he would win her heart back from James at all costs. At the same time, James was struggling under the immense pressure of his company's difficulties. He stood at a crossroads: save his family's legacy or fight to keep the woman he loves. But in this episode, a glimmer of hope begins to shine through. Good things seem to be returning. James and Diep share peaceful moments again, and whispers of a dream wedding begin to surface. However, Tung has never given up. He's ready to do whatever it takes to show Diep the sincerity of his love. Will love conquer adversity? Will James and Diep truly end up together? And what will Tung do to hold on to Diep's heart? Join us in today's video to uncover all the unexpected twists. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss any of the most emotional moments in this story. After seeing Diep again, the girl he had silently loved for so long, Tung could no longer hide his feelings. Looking into her gentle but distant eyes, he mustered all his courage to speak his heart, that he had never forgotten her, never stopped caring, and from this moment on he would not back down. But it didn't stop there. As he left Diep's house, Tung came face to face with James. In a tense encounter, he made his declaration clear: he would win Diep back at all costs, even if the man standing before him was someone he once trusted, someone he once believed could make her happy. From that day on, Tung changed. His eyes were no longer those of a gentle, soft-spoken man. They became sharp and determined, like a man stepping into the final battle for love. Then, he did something no one expected. He reached out to someone he had once firmly rejected, a man known as a silent rival of James' family. Not long ago, this man had offered to join forces with Tung to bring James down from his position of power. But back then, Tung had declined without hesitation. He believed that victory should be based on justice, that love should not be built on someone else's suffering. But now things had changed. The meeting was arranged in a quiet cafe tucked away from the bustling streets. When Tung walked in, the man was already there, arms crossed, eyes filled with both mockery and curiosity. "How strange," the man smirked, voice cold. "You once treated me like trash, refused to shake hands even when I gave you a generous offer. And now you're the one coming to me." Tung didn't respond immediately. He pulled out a chair and sat across from him, eyes steady, voice low but firm. "Back then, I believed I could win her love with sincerity. But now I know if I keep staying in the background, I'll lose her forever. This time, I need your help. I'm willing to do whatever it takes so long as I can win Diep back." A tense silence followed. Then the man let out a slow, sinister chuckle, his smile dark and deliberate. "Very well, now we understand each other, but remember this: once you step into this game, there's no turning back." Tung didn't reply. He clenched the coffee cup in front of him, eyes gazing out the window where the last light of day was fading away. Inside him was a storm of emotions: love, regret, and fear. But behind it all burned one fierce resolve: he would not lose Diep again. As for Diep, after days of hospital treatment and confronting the fragile line between life and death, she returned home with a heart stronger than ever. Though her body remained weak, Diep refused to lean on others or live in pity. She chose to face life with a quiet resilience, gentle yet unyielding, just as she had always been. As soon as she could stand, Diep returned to her small garden, a patch of land nestled at the foot of a hill, where she had once planted seeds of hope back when she was just an innocent girl in love with simple things. She began again, step by step, pulling weeds, watering, removing pests. Each day, before the sun even rose, she would don her old faded hat, sling a basket over her shoulder, and walk the bumpy dirt path that led to her garden. Rain or shine, Diep never once complained. The road to the garden was long and crossed slippery slopes and a rickety wooden bridge over a small stream. Yet her footsteps remained steady and silent. Villagers watched her frail figure pass by and couldn't help but whisper with admiration. That girl so fragile yet incredibly strong. In the garden, Diep worked alone. Every row of vegetables was tended with care: mustard greens, morning glory, eggplants, sponge gourds. All growing lush and healthy under the diligent hands of a small girl with extraordinary willpower. On scorching days, she would plant while wiping away sweat, her hands caked in soil but her eyes still shining with quiet joy. Not everyone understood why Diep worked so hard. But she alone knew it was her way of loving James. She didn't want to be a burden to him, didn't want him to worry about her health every day. She wanted him to be proud that she could still live, work, and smile, even if he wasn't by her side every moment. After each gardening session, Diep carried large baskets of fresh produce down the same old road, past hills blanketed with wild grass, and into the village market. She sat by the roadside, arranging the vegetables in neat bundles and baskets. No signboards, no shouting to attract customers, yet people flocked to her stand. They came not just for the quality of the vegetables, but because they admired the girl behind them, graceful, kind, with eyes always filled with a quiet faith in life. Some housewives returned to the market just to find Diep's stall, buying a few bunches of vegetables before sitting down to chat. "Your veggies are so clean, smell like fresh earth, you can tell they're grown with heart. Such a hard-working young woman, if only my daughter were half like her." Each compliment made Diep smile softly. To her, happiness came from such simple things, from sweat soaking her shirt, from the ache in her shoulders, but in return, a peaceful soul. In the late afternoon, as golden sunlight spilled across the village market's rooftops, Diep would carry her empty basket home, her heart light as the clouds. The fatigue of the day seemed to melt away. Looking up at the sky, she would quietly tell herself, "As long as I can still work, still be myself, I'll be okay. As long as James is happy, then all of this is worth it." After the afternoon market, when all her vegetables had been sold, Diep didn't head straight home. She walked along a narrow path, weaving through familiar alleys, carrying a basket of fresh produce and a few small bills neatly tucked into a fabric pouch. Her destination today was a special place: James's house. James wasn't home, but his mother was the kind-hearted woman whom Diep deeply respected and appreciated. As soon as she opened the door and saw Diep standing at the gate, she greeted her with a warm smile. "Oh, Diep, come in, dear, don't stand out there in the sun." Stepping into the familiar home, Diep bowed her head politely and gently placed the basket on the table. Inside were the freshest vegetables she had harvested, carefully picked and packed just for James's mother. Sweet mustard greens, carrots, eggplants, and green squash, all washed clean and wrapped neatly. "These are from my garden. I brought them as a gift for you. I hope you won't mind," Diep said softly, her voice sincere. James's mother chuckled kindly. "Mind? Why would I mind? Everyone says your vegetables are fresh and clean. I wish I could eat them every day." Then, Diep took out a small envelope, her hand trembling slightly as she handed it over. "This is a bit of money, what I've saved up from selling vegetables. I know that while I was in the hospital, you and James did so much for me. I don't know how to express my gratitude, so I'd like to offer this as a small token of thanks." At that, James's mother paused. She looked at Diep with eyes full of emotion, then gently pushed the envelope back toward her. "Diep, keep it and take care of yourself. Your health just returned. Money means nothing compared to your well-being. I love you like a daughter already." If we start measuring every little thing, it wouldn't be real family, would it? Diep was speechless. Her nose tingled, tears quietly welled in her eyes. A wave of indescribable emotion rose in her chest, gratitude, warmth, and the sense that this place was more than just a house. It was a home. A little while later, James's mother smiled and said, "Stay and have dinner with me. James should be back soon. It's been a while since we've had a proper meal together." Diep nodded gently. Without needing another word, she rolled up her sleeves and stepped into the kitchen. She moved as if she belonged, picking vegetables, rinsing rice, washing dishes, wiping the table. The kitchen seemed to brighten not just from the setting sun, but from the care and orderliness in Diep's hands. James's mother watched quietly from a distance. She noticed the way Diep deftly chopped vegetables, how gently she dried each plate, and how she smiled while chatting. No complaints, no hesitation. Diep wasn't just a hard-working girl, she was someone who knew how to live, how to care, and how to cherish a family's happiness. A strange feeling stirred in James's mother's heart. She felt at peace, and deep down, she thought to herself, "If James can keep this girl by his side, he'll be truly blessed." As for James, after enduring overwhelming pressure from the company, public scrutiny, and the dark schemes brewing from within, he finally accomplished what once seemed impossible, capturing John, the man who was once his right hand but ultimately betrayed him, embezzled a large sum of money, and fled abroad. It was a senior security officer who brought the news, his face tense and voice urgent. "Sir, we've received an internal report. John has been granted bail." Someone powerful intervened. James froze. His hand gripped the stack of documents so tightly the papers crumpled beneath his fingers. A warning bell rang in his mind, not out of fear, but because he knew all too well what kind of man John was. John out of jail wouldn't mean peace. He would return, and without doubt, he would seek revenge. Not just on James, but possibly targeting the company and everyone James loved. A shadow flickered in James's eyes. So much effort, so many sleepless nights, so much sweat shed to rebuild the company. Could it all be shattered again by someone like John? He knew he couldn't afford to be careless. He had to prepare a defense, tighten security, and protect not only the company, but everyone around him. Darkness was returning, and once again, James had to rise and face it. Just then, his phone rang. It was his mother. Her voice on the other end was soft and warm. "Son, come home for dinner. Diep is here with me. She's cooking and waiting for you." James paused, stunned amid all the tension, the tangled thoughts of revenge, schemes, and warfare. Those simple words alone were enough to soothe his heart. Diep's face appeared in his mind, gentle, steadfast, and always quietly by his side, no matter how many storms he endured. Without hesitation, James set everything aside and went home to have dinner with Diep and his mother. James stepped into the house, his gaze softened, his heart warmed. He pulled out a chair and sat beside Diep, glancing at the meal on the table, then at her, the girl who had once looked so frail in the hospital, now healthier, more radiant, and still just as strong as ever. During dinner, the three of them chatted cheerfully like a true family. James's mother shared stories from her youth. Diep spoke about her vegetable garden and amusing happenings at the village market, and James, for the first time in many months, enjoyed a complete meal in an atmosphere so peaceful, so filled with love. In that moment, James realized something more important than anything he had ever chased after. Happiness sometimes is simply sharing a warm meal with the one you love and the ones who love you. After dinner, James's mother invited Diep to have a private conversation. She didn't beat around the bush. With a gentle yet sincere look in her eyes, she asked softly, "Diep, I hope you won't be upset with me for asking this. Lately, I've heard some rumors that you may have had a previous marriage. I'm not one to dwell on the past, but I want to understand you better." If one day you truly become part of this family, everything should be open so no one can ever use your past to hurt you." Diep froze for a moment. In an instant, memories she had tried so hard to forget came rushing back, parts of her life she never wanted anyone to know. But in front of James's mother's honesty and gentle gaze, Diep felt something she hadn't felt in a very long time, safety, a feeling she had lost since childhood. She took a deep breath, gave a small nod, and began speaking, her voice soft but edged with sorrow. I never really had a real home. I lost my parents when I was young, grew up in an orphanage, and was later adopted by a family, but when I was 16, they sold me to a family in a remote mountain village to be the wife of a man named Pao. The price was just to buffalo." Her voice trembled, but she didn't cry. The years she spent living in hell had taught her how to turn pain into quiet endurance. For 4 years, I was no different from a beast of burden. Working in the fields by day, cooking and washing and hauling water by night. My mother-in-law screamed at me, drained me of every penny and ounce of strength, and my husband, he was a heavy drinker. When he was drunk, he beat me. When he was sober, he ignored me. I used to think I would die there and no one would even know my name." Diep paused, her eyes staring into the distance, as if seeing her younger self lost in that past. A long silence hung over the small courtyard. Then one day, he brought his mistress home openly, like I was nothing, and then he kicked me out. Into the night, deep in the forest, I just kept walking with no destination, and then James found me. He didn't just rescue me from that life, he gave me back something I thought I'd lost forever, the belief that I still had worth, that I could still be loved. By now, James's mother couldn't hide her emotions. She reached out and took Diep's hand, squeezing it tightly as if to pass on her warmth. Her eyes welled with tears, not of pity, but of deep understanding, sorrow, and admiration. "My dear girl," she said, her voice choking, "I never imagined you had been through something so terrible. Yet here you are, still kind, still gentle, still standing strong. I truly love you. From now on, no matter what anyone says, to me you are my daughter." Only then did Diep begin to cry, silently. The tears rolled down her cheeks, not tears of pain, but of acceptance, of a quiet happiness she once believed she didn't deserve. After the heartfelt private conversation with James's mother, Diep returned to the room with James. The room wasn't large, but it was cozy. A warm yellow light softly filled the space, like a gentle embrace for two souls who had weathered countless storms. James sat beside Diep, gently taking her hand, those hands once calloused by labor, by tears, by years of surviving without hope for tomorrow. Looking at her with deep affection, he spoke softly. "Diep, I know everything you've been through, and I've always regretted not being there sooner to protect you from all that pain." Diep shook her head gently, her eyes brimming with tears, but a smile curved her lips. James pulled her into his arms, whispering by her ear, "But now all of that is behind us. You don't have to worry anymore, don't have to be afraid of anything. From now on, I'll be the one to protect you. I want to marry you, to build a happy home with you. You deserve love and a new life, one filled only with peace and joy." Diep was speechless, her heart swelled. Every word from James soothed the wounds of her past and opened up a future she never thought she'd be worthy of. Resting her head on his shoulder, she whispered, thank you for trusting me, choosing me, and loving me with all your heart. I love you." The room fell into a quiet, emotional stillness. No more words were needed, just two hearts beating as one was enough to know they belonged to each other. Everything seemed to be falling into place. Diep was growing stronger day by day, James's company was stabilizing, and his mother had fully welcomed Diep as her future daughter-in-law. A warm, sweet wedding was just around the corner. But was peace really within reach? Elsewhere, darkness still lurked. Tung, the former friend turned ruthless rival, was quietly plotting to bring James down and take Diep back at all costs. New schemes were being drawn, traps were silently being set. Will James and Diep be able to have the perfect wedding they dream of? Is love strong enough to overcome one more storm? And how far will Tung go to claim what he believes is his? Stay tuned for the next episode, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you won't miss a single dramatic twist in this stormy love story.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người. Cảm ơn mọi người rất là nhiều vì mọi người đã theo dõi đến cuối video. Và mọi người ơi, nếu như mọi người yêu thích kênh cũng như là có muốn tạo động lực cho kênh hơn để ra được nhiều video hay hơn nữa, thì mọi người nhớ like, share cũng như chia sẻ video này để cho nhiều người khác cùng biết, để cho kênh được càng ngày càng phát triển hơn mọi người nhé. Và mọi người ơi, mọi người nhớ đăng ký, sau đó là phải bật chuông thông báo để không bỏ lỡ bất kỳ video nào mà kênh của mình ra nha. Và nếu như mọi người yêu thích hai nhân vật James và Diệp thì mọi người hãy để lại bình luận cũng như đóng góp ý kiến của mình để cho kênh của mình càng ngày càng hoàn thiện hơn, và mình sẽ đọc những bình luận đó và những đóng góp của mọi người và mình sẽ sửa để cho càng ngày càng đúng với ý mọi người, và kênh càng ngày càng kiểu vui vẻ thuận ý, và chúng ta sẽ cùng nhau phát triển. Và mọi người hãy nhớ là chia sẻ video này đến những người mình yêu thương để mọi người cùng được đón xem câu chuyện hay và ý nghĩa này nha. Còn mình xin chào tạm biệt và hẹn gặp lại mọi người ở những video sau.